What's up? Back yet again.
What's up, nerds?
For part 8 of the Player's Handbook. This is going to focus on combat. We're going to talk combat itself, we're going to talk about the action system, we're going to talk about surprise rounds, we're going to talk about advantage and disadvantage. So, combat is much more refined in this edition.
Jokes.
One of the great things about it, probably one of the biggest changes, is the breakup of your move.
Yes.
You can move 5 feet, attack, move another 5 feet, attack again, and then move the rest of your movement. And there's no negatives to that. If you have multiple attacks, like I just mentioned, you don't have to do both attacks on one person. You can attack this guy, then run 20 feet over here and hit this guy.
No such thing as a 5-foot step.
Big thing, because a lot of people look at that and they go, oh, I'll just take a 5-foot step away.
No, not a thing. Don't do that.
Right. So you can take a 5-foot step, but it's just taking 5 feet of movement.
Yeah.
So the other part, I guess, with the 5-foot step typically was to avoid reaction-based or opportunity attacks.
Yeah.
Which I think they are called, they were attack of opportunities, now they're called opportunity attacks. Same thing, you only get them when leaving combat. So, as we were just talking about earlier tonight, if you never leave combat, so like if you could circle around somebody as long as you're still within 5 feet of them, you're not technically leaving that combat, so you don't provoke. So there's your sort of 5-foot step. Let me step next to this guy so I'm still within 5 feet of him, but I never left the combat, so he doesn't get the free shot on me. So I guess I'll just go over actions at the highest level. Each turn, you get an action. Your move is separate from that. It's its own thing. So, like we said, break it up however you want. With your action, you can choose to do... You may want to flip to this because I'm not going to be able to get all of them. Okay. You can use your action to do several different things. So, one of the things you can do is take the attack action. There's several different options you can do. Or, I'm sorry, taking an action, rather. One, like I said, is attack. If you have 2 attacks, 3 attacks, 4 attacks, the attack action is allowing you to do that. So, once you choose to take the attack action, like I said, you can attack, move, and so on, and that is what you chose to do that round. There are other actions you can choose to do, though, like casting a spell is an action, but what else?
You have the dash action, which allows you to move twice your movement speed, but that's all you're doing, is moving. The disengage action, where you can leave combat without provoking an attack of opportunity for the rest of your turn.
Right.
The dodge action,
which does
something. Until the start of your next turn, any attacks made against you have disadvantage if you can see the attacker.
Okay.
Which is nice. One of the things that I really like they added in this is the help action, which is you grant advantage to one of your party members for that turn. So, let's say you are a fighter and you have nothing for range, and your buddy the sorcerer has got some sweet range spells, and you know that guy has a short bow, and if you move forward, you're not going to be able to get to him this turn, but he'll be able to shoot you. You can just say, you know what, I help my buddy. And the way they describe it is like you distract the opponent or tell him he's great or something. So I like to think of it as you yelling, "Look over here!" at the bad guy, and now he's at disadvantage in stuff.
That's the help action?
It's the help action. Your ally has to be within 5 feet of you.
Your ally gets advantage or he gets disadvantage?
I think your ally gets advantage. Yeah, your ally gets advantage on the next ability check.
Okay. Ability check, which is not an attack.
You can't distract the target in some other way. If your ally attacks before the beginning of your next turn, the first attack roll is made with advantage.
Okay. So benefit to that, think outside of combat. You know what? Why don't you try to pick that lock and use your thieves tools? You know what, buddy?
You can do it, buddy.
Yeah, and
a little back rub.
You're outside of combat, so there's no actions, but I'm going to help you. Or you know what? I'm going to try to persuade this guy. Good job. You could do it. Well, now I have advantage. There's nothing stopping you from doing that outside of combat. Yep. I mean, if there was actions, you would have to do it in that order, but you're not in combat, so you can still help him and give him advantage.
Help. Then there's the hide action, which I don't know what it does. No one does.
It's I mean it is what it is, but the the I guess the holdup on it is there's a line in there that says something along the lines of you can't hide if you're being observed, or if someone knows where you are, you can't hide, and it's a big schism in the community. So it's up to your DM. Honestly, that's really what it comes down to. If they say you can hide, you can hide. If you can't, you can't.
One of the cool things I added is you can ready an action, which again, in the scenario where you got no range and there's a guy over there, if you go before them, you can say, I'm going to ready an attack if they come near me. So readying an action is, you're going to do this if this happens.
Right.
And you tell the DM up front, and it could be something, if someone comes through that door, I'm going to put acid in their face, or if someone this round gets knocked down to 0, I'm going to heal them. You can...
Right.
If then.
Yeah.
Stuff.
The point to make about readying actions is the ready to action ends at the end of the turn.
Yes.
So if you go first and you say I'm going to ready an action to attack this guy when he comes close to me, if it gets to the end of the turn and he didn't come close to you, that ready to action is no longer there. When it comes back around to you, you ready it again. It doesn't delay your initiative. Your initiative order is still where you stood. You just ready an action for whatever that contingency is. What else we got?
We got search.
Yeah, it's not a huge combat one, but it's essentially, what is it, a perception or investigation?
Perception or investigation check.
To look for something.
Yep.
So if you're really trying, I guess if you have to do that in a combat, maybe you're trying to find it's combat and you're like, oh my god, there's something that if I hit, it'll stop this enemy. You can use that as the action.
Yeah.
So it's
and then use an object.
So again, that's, like we mentioned, the healer's kit as a bonus action, because one of the things the thief has is the ability to use an action as a bonus action. But it also could be to use a scroll or something like that.
Pull a lever.
Actually, and I think there's weird stuff about things you can interact with as part of your move.
Yeah.
There's a table, I think, somewhere in there that talks about that.
Yeah. Sheathe the sword, open a door, withdraw a potion from your backpack, pick up a drop dex, etc.
So those are all things you can do as part of a move, and then you can continue doing something else. So I mentioned bonus action there. The way a bonus action works is every round you get to move, you get an action. Whether you choose to make that action the dash action and move again, or the disengage action, which allows you to move up to your current speed, just like we said, without provoking attacks of opportunity. You could, you might have a spell or a certain class-based ability that gives you a bonus action. The only way bonus actions work is something has to grant it to you. Nobody just gets one for free. And each turn that you have the ability to use a bonus action, you can use your regular action and one bonus action. Bonus action can come before or after the regular action, depending on how that goes, depending on how you want to use it, and nothing gives you more than one bonus action in a turn.
Yes.
Even the fighter's action surge just gives them another action, does not give them another bonus action. I don't think there's any other weird stuff with bonus action. There's a lot of features that might give you the ability to, like a rogue has a thing at 2nd level that gives them the ability to use the dash, dodge, or hide action as a bonus action. So you could choose to dash as a bonus action, move twice your speed, and then still take your full action to attack. So there's a lot of creative ways you can use bonus actions. There are spells that will give you buffs, or teleports, or all sorts of things that are bonus actions. So you gotta be, just be mindful. If you're a fighter or something like that, and you can find a way to get an attack as a bonus action, that just adds more to it.
Do it.
So that's bonus action. The only other action that exists is reaction.
Reaction.
This is sort of, for lack of a better term for previous editions, this was your opportunity attack. You only get one reaction a turn, and a reaction can take place at any point in that turn, or that round of combat, I should say. That round. If someone goes to leave combat and you get an opportunity attack, you can use your reaction to attack them. But then you are out of reactions for the rest of the turn, so any other enemies can move to right by you, and then nothing happens. There are certain spells that activate on a reaction.
Yep.
Um,
Counterspell.
Counterspell, I think, is a reaction. Shield is a reaction. Certain feats give you options of things to do as a reaction. That Shield Master feat we mentioned. If you were to dodge something, a dex save, and you would take half damage, you can use your reaction to hide behind your shield and take no damage. There are certain other class abilities that are like, if blah 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 happens, you can use your reaction. I know a Warlock using one of their familiar to make an attack, it uses the familiar's reaction to attack. Things like that. So that's essentially the actions as far as combat goes. I don't think there's anything else in there.
I don't think so.
We talked about 2-weapon fighting, gives you bonus action attacks. I think that's pretty much it for attacks. We've got advantage, disadvantage. We sort of already talked about that. Something grants you advantage. It gives you the ability to roll 2d20s, and you take the higher number. And the same thing with disadvantage is the inverse. Roll 2d20s and take the lower. Those do cancel out critical misses and critical failures. So if you have disadvantage and you roll a 20 and a 3, doesn't matter that you rolled a 20, you're taking a 3.
The 3.
So they can be very powerful. There are certain things that you can do. If you are prone, if you choose to go prone or you're knocked prone, melee attacks against you have advantage, but ranged attacks against you have disadvantage. There's different things like that.
Yeah.
And again, if a rogue has advantage, they can do their sneak attack when they have advantage. What else we got in there? Anything?
Cover.
You talk about cover?
Cover is cool. There are 3 types of cover. Half cover, 3/4 cover, and total cover. If you are in half cover, which I mean is kind of explanatory. You're behind a wall, this side, it's half cover, this side, 3/4 cover, this side, it's full cover. Half cover, plus 2 to AC.
Yep.
3/4 cover, plus 5 to AC. Total cover, you can't be targeted directly.
Nobody can see you.
No one can see you. There's a negative though, right? I thought it was like you can't attack or something.
I mean, it would make sense.
Target and total cover can't be targeted by an attack or spell, although some spells can reach such a target, including an area of effect. Target has total cover. Yeah, that's it. I lied. There's no negative. Yeah.
No, but I mean, it makes sense that you can't attack, because if you can't see them, they can't see you.
So,
like you mentioned, there are spells that come from top down. If you shoot like a fireball around a corner, you get the guy.
Stuff. Yeah. And we talked about that there are certain feats that let you ignore half cover and 3/4 cover. And when you think that 3/4 cover is a plus 5 to AC, being able to ignore that is huge.
Yeah, it's real big.
Then we got damage. You want to talk about death?
Yeah, there's no negative hit points in this game. You go down to 0, you're knocked unconscious. The only way you can instantly die is if when you're taken into the there's no negative, but when you're knocked down to 0, if the remaining damage that would have hit you is greater than your maximum hit points, you die.
You're dead.
This is less likely as you start to level up, but like at level 1, if your hit points are 10 and you take 20 points of damage, you're dead.
Dead.
You're flat out dead. Just end of story. If you go down to 0, you are dying, and now you have to start making death saves. So the way they kind of simplified this, it's d20 rolls, you don't add anything to it. You roll a d20, it's 10 or above, I believe, it's a success. It's 9 or below, it's a failure. If you roll 3 successes in a row, you are stabilized, and you're not bleeding out, and that's that. You roll 3 9s or below, you die. You're dead. If you take damage while you are below, or at 0, each time you take damage, it counts as a failure. Oh, and the successes failure don't have to be consecutive. They can be
3 total. There's a spot on the character sheet, so you bubble in your successes and failures. Isn't like 20 count as 2 successes?
A 20 gives you get 1 hit point.
Oh, look at that!
So then you're back up.
Roll a 20.
If a enemy gets a critical hit on you when you're down, it's 2 failures.
Okay.
So, I think there's rules that, like, if you stabilize, and you're, like, unconscious for a certain number of hours, you eventually gain a hit point and get back up.
Okay.
Or clerics can use Spare the Dying to stabilize somebody at 0. Or if you heal somebody for any point of magical healing, or any kind of healing whatsoever, they are back up. 1 hit point is as good as 300, as far as fighting goes. Medicine is, again, one of those things that could stabilize you at 0.
So, like, let's say that, like, 2 characters were fighting,
Yeah.
and one of them goes down.
Yeah.
If you want to finish them off, magic missile.
Yeah.
Can't. It's 3 hits.
Yeah.
It's 4 hits, and it can't miss.
Yeah.
I'm gonna do that to someone.
It's a thing.
And then we have resistance and vulnerability.
That's something worth mentioning. Resistance, like we talked about, is if you have resistance to something. In this game, it's pretty simple. It's half damage. You're resistant to fire, take half damage from all fire. You want to do vulnerability?
Vulnerability, you take double damage.
Very simple. You're vulnerable to fire, you take double damage from fire.
Which I really like compared to other versions like 3.5, because they would have like, oh, you have a +5 resistance to acid, and then when you're doing, every time you get acid damage, you remove 5, but you can beef that up by certain, like, it was a lot.
Yeah.
And at this, you take half damage, or you take double damage, and if you're immune, you take no damage. It's very simple.
Yeah.
Beautiful.
There are certain feats too, and different things that allow you to ignore resistance,
Yep.
which is nice.
I think sorcerers can do that, right?
No, anybody. It's the elemental affinity feat. You can take it multiple times, and you pick for a type of damage. So if you're a fire dragon sorcerer, and you choose elemental affinity fire, now any of your fire-based attacks ignore resistance to fire. They also, any 2 ones you get count as 2s as far as damage goes. So it's a pretty solid feat if you're a blasty type.
Yeah.
Is there anything else?
Healing, damage types, you don't have to run through damage types.
No.
Healing, you gain health.
Yeah.
And then mounts. Oh, knocking a creature out.
Yes.
When you are about to kill someone, you can choose to use non-lethal damage, is what it was called in other versions, where instead of, like, basically you're turning the blade. So instead of cutting their head off, you're slapping them in the head, reduce them to 0, they're knocked out, they're not going to die. You can only do that with melee attacks. You can't cast Magic Missile and have it be knockout damage.
True. True.
I think that's it.
Yeah, the big point with that is, I like it because you don't have to determine that ahead of time. Because in previous editions, you might have had to have been like, I'm going to do non-lethal damage, and do enough non-lethal damage to knock somebody out.
Well, also in other versions, wasn't it half damage if it was non-lethal?
I don't know.
I think it was.
Either way, you go to swing a sword at a guy and the DM says you killed him, you say, you know what, I want to knock him out instead, and that's how that goes. So you can fight with the intent to kill, and then when you find out you're actually going to kill the person, you can just say, nope, knock him out.
No, that's not how it works.
No?
The attacker can make this choice the instant the damage is dealt.
Yeah.
Not like when you... It's up to your DM. I let it fly.
When the damage is dealt.
When the yeah, but not after it's told what happened. I take 13 damage. The instant it's dealt, you say, I want to knock him out. I don't know. It's point of contention. Talk to your DM. Or don't, and just say you knocked him out.
Yeah.
See what he does.
I mean, I dealt the damage. If it's enough to knock him out, I want to knock him out.
Well, I mean, again, we're getting into stupid things that we don't have to put on the internet, but then, like, I'm always dealing non-lethal damage to this guy because it doesn't matter.
Yeah.
Whatever. So, yeah, talk to your DM.
Is there anything else on that?
Mounted combat. Controlling a mount. Underwater combat. Don't go underwater.
Yeah. Alright. That's combat.